Hey, comic lovers, EMoney, the old man, and Thor the Dog of Thunder here with you again for another episode. Having a beautiful day here at our garage sale. Having a pretty good day, right?
Yeah, it's a really nice day.
So, we have comic reviews this week. Planet Size X-Men came out, so we're going to see how that ranked up. Independence came out and a bunch of other stuff, so we're going to see who makes it into our top three. Also, we have previews for this week's comics. If you're watching on Wednesday, see what we recommend you pick up today. All right. So, and also, I have a Stump the Old Man question for you.
What happened to the movieisms?
If I come up with movieisms related to comic books, I'll put them in here.
I need to think of some.
Yeah.
Wow, I know. We can do some Rob Liefeld tropes.
Okay, you come up with them. We'll talk.
Oh, that's easy.
All right. So, in keeping with comic tradition, myself, the old man, and Thor in our next episode will be played by women. This is Back Issues.
What the hell?
All right, comic lovers. So before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of these comics that we're reviewing today. All right, so today we're going to do something a little different because we have some highly anticipated comic books that the distributors advertised and people were talking about that maybe didn't make it into our top 3 or 4. So we're going to talk about those first. So for a review of how we do this, we are grading things on a 5-shield rating system. What happens is each comic book gets 4 scores. We each give it 2 scores, one for writing, the other one for artwork.
So it's 2 for me, 2 for me, mine.
Yeah, and then we throw them together and we give them an average score. So how many comics did we review this week?
12.
All right, so a bit of a light week for us. All right, so the first anticipated comic book was Planet Size X-Men #1.
Now, a lot of the promotions for this comic from Marvel, they were comparing this to Giant Size X-Men #1. No. No.
So, for those who haven't been following the X-Men universe lately, what has happened is the X-Men, or mutants in general, I guess you could say they've kind of given up on living peacefully with humanity. And they have established their own island, their own country. And they made a deal with the leaders of the human world and said, we'll give you certain advancements or tools or whatever, and for that you leave us the hell alone.
And most of what they're exporting is medicine.
Yeah. So that's where we are with X-Men and the mutant world in general right now.
Well, here's my problem. Let's go back.
Okay.
The X-Men, everybody thinks, oh, it's a really popular book. Well, the original X-Men storyline wasn't selling, and after 50, 60 issues, I forget which number, they started reprinting it because it wasn't selling. In fact, they might have canceled it, and then along comes Giant Size X-Men #1, which had Wolverine in it, who was already a smash hit, and they introduced us to a bunch of new characters. And the stories, when you got to X-Men '94, which was the first regular issue after Giant Size #1, all of a sudden you've got these great characters, great storylines. I think Chris Claremont was writing some of those early stories.
Didn't your guy who came to Comics America that one
Chris
time?
Claremont.
Okay.
So, great guy, by the way. But at any rate, great stories. You got to meet a whole slew of new villains. It was just really, really just great. Now, somewhere along the way, they got so involved in the racism thing, which has always been part of X-Men. I mean,
which is fine.
Stan Lee invented mutants
to
capitalize on the racism subject.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always been like that.
Right.
But that wasn't all it was.
There was action.
There was action. You got to see them going in and fighting and teaming up with some of the human heroes and sometimes getting along with civilization and mankind and sometimes not.
Yep.
I mean, you had one guy. What was his name? The human that invented the...
Trask?
Was it Trask?
There were two guys, Trask and somebody else whose name escapes me.
Yeah, so some guy invented the Sentinels because...
Gyrick.
He wanted to hunt down the mutants. And even though at that time it wasn't sanctioned by the government, he did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So at any rate, a lot of action,
Yep.
good stories, great characters.
This story is lacking in the action, and it's become political.
That's all X-Men is.
Yeah,
nowadays.
that's all they're doing now.
You had X-Corps #1 that I'm sure there's been other issues since then, but I've not read them. X-Corps #1 was all about economics. I took economics in school a long time ago, and I thought I was done with economics. I mean, you just need a general understanding to get by in life, but they're shoving economics down my throat in that book. And all X-Men is to me is racism, politics, and economics.
And
In this book, Planet Size X-Men #1, if you're going to compare it to Giant Size X-Men #1, I expect to be introduced to some great new characters. Where's Nightcrawler? Where's Colossus? Where's Storm? Where's Thunderbird?
nothing.
I didn't see anything like that. Most of the new characters that they're introducing to me in X-Men have got lame powers, which might be great for their economy, as far as somebody who help them make the drugs that they're selling.
I think one guy's a healer, and another guy can cut off your neural pathways or something. That's not really all that thrilling on pages, right?
Yeah, you're not going to do a lot of good in combat.
Yeah.
Now the healer might, but if I remember right, the healer doesn't just go bam, you're healed. He's got to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I'm sorry, major disappointment.
Yeah, didn't do much for me either. That's why I ended up with...
I got 2.75 shields, rounded up to 3 shields.
3 shields. So an average comic book. Artwork, not bad, not the best I've ever seen. It was okay.
And we both gave it 3s on the artwork.
Yeah. So there you have Planet Size X-Men #1. So our next highly anticipated book that didn't make it into the top 4 was...
Static Season 1, one of the returning Milestone books.
DC Milestone books. So some good stuff in this one. We see... you compared it to early Spider-Man, didn't you?
It reminded me of, in fact, all the Static stories, the original Milestone run back in the day, back in the 90s, and this story. Static reminds me of Peter Parker when he was still in high school, because they're very realistic stories. If you take out the fact that he has powers, he's a kid in high school who's got to deal with crushes on girls.
He's got to deal with girls. He deals with bullies. And, he also deals with, political, racial injustice issues, something that Spider-Man didn't handle. So that's a new element with this story. So, some great stuff. And, unlike X-Men, it actually has action. People actually are, coming after Static, and he has to fight back. So...
Well, we both agreed on the artwork on this book. It was okay. It was average.
Yeah.
You scored the writing a 4. I gave it a 3. So that gave it 3 1/4 shields, rounded up to 3 1/2 shields.
All right, so 3 1/2 for Static Season 1.
Now, there are other Milestone books coming back. Hardware, I think Icon and Rocket are coming. All good, solid characters that, if the writing is as good as this, it'll do pretty well.
Right.
Looking forward to them.
All right, so there you have our anticipated comics. Now for our top 4.
And once again, there was a tie for the 3rd spot, which is why we have our top 4. Our goal is to do a top 3, but we always seem to have a tie, and then we have to have our tiebreaker. And so this week, we cut a deck of cards for high card.
Oh, okay, something painless this week. All right.
Already did it. Where were you at? EMoney got a king, I got a deuce. So he got to pick, which is obvious because Captain America, annual number 1, ended up in 4th place instead of 3rd. Be honest, I'm not sure I would have put it in 3rd place either, but it had a better chance with me than it did with EMoney.
All right, so this is a pretty great story here. Captain America, Infinite Destinies. It's part of the Marvel annual number 1. So in this one, a guy who committed a pretty terrible crime years ago, he somehow became infused with the Time Stone, and so he has certain time powers. Now, to the untrained eye, it'll look like he's teleporting, but he's actually slowing down time. And he is being chased, and Captain America and Black Widow are tasked with bringing him in. And I believe the guy mentions in one page, like, I'm glad he didn't have Thor or Iron Man chasing after him, because he has powers, but he doesn't have a really good handle on them right now because he's completely untrained. He's just kind of winging this.
Let's face it, Cap is somewhat enhanced.
Yeah.
And Black Widow is just superbly trained, and an excellent athlete.
Yeah.
But it's not like you've got a god and Iron Man coming after you. So
right.
Yeah.
So being a guy without any training, he does well to get one step ahead of Cap and Widow, and it's a pretty great chase story here. The artwork, it's okay. I mean, I don't like a lot of the close-ups they do of Cap here. He looks a little too rough for my taste.
We both gave the art a 3, so
yeah.
It was average.
So, pretty great story here. So that's why Captain America gets
3.5 shields.
3.5 shields.
All right, and it tied with Berserker number 3, Keanu Reeves comic.
Yep. So this one, we've been following this one since number 1. I thought we were done with the origin story after number 2, but turns out in this issue they continue with that story. This whole issue is pretty much all a flashback.
I suspect that they're going to keep doing that. I suspect we're going to get lots of stories from back in the golden days.
I guess it's a lot like the old guard in that regard.
Right.
Plenty of stories to tell, throughout time that you can go back to, so you don't have to have a linear story going. All right, so Berserker, this one goes back still his early days when he was tribal with his parents, his not his birth father, his real father, but the man who was his mother's mate. And
who happens to be the tribal chieftain.
Right. And what his character does to help his clan, his tribe out.
Well, the chief abuses this guy's powers.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, it's a good story. I enjoyed it. We gave it 3.5 shields.
3.5. All right, Berserker number 3. All right, so there you have it. So let's go to number 2.
Number 2 is going to be Marvel's Alien. Now, ever since Marvel got the Alien franchise, their comic has always been in our top 3. It's a great storyline. They've introduced a whole new line of characters and storyline, and they've done their research on the source material. Yeah, and they're nailing it.
So. Artwork is pretty solid in this. I think we gave it...
Both of us gave it 4 for artwork.
And something I enjoy about a lot of comic books, and I might get flack for this, is I don't like it when they're yakking a whole lot, because that takes away from the action. And I want you to set things up. I mean, don't leave me guessing by not explaining things. But you talk too much, and I just get bogged down. Like in Planet Size X-Men number 1, for example, a lot of yakking, not much action. This one gives a good balance. They don't talk too much, and there's a lot of action scenes in this. So, Alien number 4 ended up with.
Well, it got 4s all the way across.
So
4s for writing. 4s for art, so we got a
solid 4.
Right.
Which brings us to number 1.
Which is Legends of the Dark Knight number 2. And this is a case of you can judge a book by its cover, because I think that is excellent artwork on the cover. As soon as I saw that in a YouTube video that tells me all the comics that are coming out next week, I said, "Oh, that looks great," and it is.
Yep. So in this story, starts out Batman and Joker. Somehow their fight ended up getting them stranded on a barge, and there's not really much to do except wait for Gordon to show up, and so they end up chatting. I mean, Joker does most of the chatting. Batman just kind of grinds his teeth. But there's some great talk, some great conversation there.
So, even though you don't like chatting,
well,
if it's the right kind of chatting,
I mean, if you can write talking like Tarantino, then sure, I'll read that, which is kind of akin to what this is, and some great character development. And I told you the artwork is amazing. So
you gave it 5 shields for artwork.
Yeah.
So that one ended up coming in at 4 1/4 shields, rounded up to 4
1/2 shields.
And that's about what it takes to get the number 1 spot with us.
All right, so there you have it, our top 4 comic books for last week. Pick them up at your local comic book shop if you haven't already. All right, so previews for this week's comic books today, if you're watching on Wednesday.
All right, coming out this week, there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to. There's a new Batman title called Batman Reptilian. Don't know anything about it, though, so I'm not going to say it's one we're really looking forward to. Shadecraft number 4 comes out. That's been a good book so far. The Heroes Return.
Right. The next step in that storyline, the Heroes Reborn story.
Right. DC's got an Infinite Frontier book coming out. I think they've done lead-ins to this, and it's curious to see what they do.
I mean, I can't get too excited about Infinite Frontier, but we'll see.
Right. So, the ones we're actually looking forward to, of course, for you, the Old Guard.
Yep.
EMoney loves the Old Guard. Number 3 comes out.
I mean, I wasn't going in, planning to like it as much as I have, but they've done a pretty good job with it so far.
The 5th and I believe last issue of Nuclear Family comes out.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see how
that's a lot to wrap up in 5 issues.
I mean, they're going to have to wrap up a plot line pretty much every other page.
Yeah.
So that looks interesting to me. And then you've got Robin number 3.
Okay.
Robin's been a solid book for the first 2 issues, so can't help but look forward to it. Gamma Flight number 1, which I assume is another Canadian superhero team, just like Alpha Flight was.
Okay.
Some of the characters look very similar to the old Alpha Flight, but with maybe they've aged quite a bit.
Right.
So looking forward to that, just out of curiosity, if nothing else. And then finally, McFarlane's putting out Spawn's Universe number 1.
Okay.
I know that you're not a huge fan of Spawn.
No, I have not read a lot of Spawn.
And it's not because you don't like it, we just haven't read it. Once you get to like over 300 issues, that's a lot to go back and chase.
Yeah.
I've read like the first 20 or 30 issues, and then I drifted away from it. But with the new number 1, I mean, McFarlane doesn't put out a lot of Spawn number 1s, unlike a lot of companies and characters. But I got to give it a shot. We went with the, I think the Spawn that's on the cover of the one I chose is Medieval Spawn, carrying this big old 2-bladed battle axe.
Right.
Had to get it.
Okay.
So looking forward to those. But yeah, it looks like a good solid week. Your Shadow Man number 4 comes out.
Yeah, I like Shadow Man.
Yeah, he's a fan of Shadow
if you're a fan of the Dresden Files, then I highly recommend you check out Shadow Man.
It's Dresden Files with a New Orleans twist.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, so there's your comic books for this week. Check them out at your local comic book shop. All right, so this week I have a new Stump the Old Man ready to go. So let's head back out into the garage with Thor. All right, back out here in the garage with Thor, the Dog of Thunder, the mighty Dog of Thunder, right?
And the old man.
And the old man. All right, so I have a brand new Stump the Old Man question for you.
Never mind, I'm not here.
All right, so as most everyone knows, we have The Black Widow coming out in theaters next month.
Okay.
So Scarlett Johansson, she's been playing been playing Black Widow for a while now. And Chris Evans and her have starred in 6 MCU films together. and they have great chemistry, and they have never been romantic in the MCU.
Yeah, they flirted around.
They flirted a lot in the Winter Soldier, but they were never, an item. So they have great chemistry, but their chemistry did not start in the MCU. So my question today is, name one of the two films Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans starred in together prior to the MCU.
Okay. Chris Evans. Really good in Snowpiercer.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't in that.
Nope.
He's in Fantastic Four, which, through no fault of his, wasn't that great.
Nope.
She wasn't in that.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Any other movie that he would have been in, especially with her, had to have been a rom-com. And guess who doesn't like comedies? The old man. So, I don't know. And, you need to get back to the 3 questions, because you're cheating. You're cheating.
I thought he would be happy with the 1 question since he never liked the 3 questions.
I don't like 3 questions. I don't like the 1 question. But the 3 questions is mo fair. Because 1 question is a do or die. And when you pick stuff about comedies, I'm going to die. I mean, I feel like you set me up.
All right.
It's hurtful.
Well, the 2 films Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans have been in together, other than MCU films, were The Perfect Score and The Nanny Diaries.
Okay, now, because since you've been an adult, most of the movies I've seen, you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that I've seen a lot of movies.
Yep.
So I haven't seen those.
I didn't know.
You knew I didn't see those.
I mean, maybe Mom made you watch the Nanny Diaries with her.
Thus, the cheating phase of which he participates.
Well, they are also poised to start another film upcoming, a remake of Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
They've already done it at least twice.
Yep. Can you imagine Chris Evans as Seymour?
No, I can't.
Right?
I can't. I really can't.
All right, comic lovers, that about does it for this week. Be sure to tune in next week. We have some speculation books that are coming out. We have the Heroes Return in the Marvel Comics. If you're interested in that, if you've been reading Heroes Reborn, which has been pretty interesting so far. So I'm anxious to see where they take the next step. Also, we have comics that we're going to be grading and we're going to be previewing, so be sure to tune in for that again. Also, be sure to take a look at other stuff we have going on the channel. We have our Loki reaction videos going on right now.
Good show.
Yep. Your brother's up to no good. Not Jack's, the other one. Right? All right. And we have, I have a new show that I have on Friday night, or on Fridays, called Tales from the Set. Tales, stories from the world of film and television production, read by me, but written by the crew members who live them. And a lot of interesting stories involving...
Some of them are pretty good.
Yeah, involving situations they found themselves in, things about other crew members, stuff about celebrities, all kinds of cool stuff. So be sure to tune in every Friday for Tales from the Set. All right, that about does it for this episode. We'll see you next time. Excelsior.
All right, true believers. EMoney and, what the heck, Thor and I have decided that today's the day. We're going to restart all this stuff. I mean, comic book world doesn't require a mask anymore. Our local movie theater, if you've been vaccinated, they don't require a mask. It's time to start living large again. You ready? You ready? I know you're ready.
Yep.
I'm ready. Let's do it.